Hello, I'm Carl, and this is Pro Cycles Tech Talk. If this is your first time watching us, what we try and do here is give you some easy technical information, how to do simple maintenance, upkeep on your motorcycle, so when you do go adventure riding, you'll have no issues whatsoever. Today's topic, we're going to talk about fork oil. Types of fork oil, how you use fork oil, and the do's and don'ts of fork oil. But first, before we get into which fork oils we want to use, we're going to talk about replacing the fork oil. We're going to take your forks off the bike if you need to. Some have drains at the bottom, some do not. But most of them do not on dual sport bikes, so we're going to have to take the forks out of the triple clamps, take off the top, take out the spring, be careful, turn it upside down, empty out the old fork oil. We want to get all that old sludge, that fork oil out. And as you've seen, if you've changed fork oils before, it has a real metallic shimmer to it because the little tiny pieces inside the forks have kind of scuffed together, shaving off little pieces, and that's when you go to change your fork oil. A must we always insist on is get some alcohol, get some solvent, put into your fork, kind of pump the tubes up and down, cleaning out all that sludge and all that debris that's going to catch in the bottom, and empty that out. We don't want to reuse that sludge or have any of it trapped in there when you put in your new fork oil. It's just going to wear the internal components a little bit faster. We don't like that. So when you change your fork oil, let's put some solvent, get some rubbing alcohol, put inside there, clean it all out. Make sure we got it all clean inside, then we could add our new fork oil. Also, if you're taking your forks apart, let's say you're going to have to replace fork seals. Happens to everyone eventually. If you're taking it apart to replace your fork seals, of course we want to get you good quality fork seals, but right underneath the fork seals is the fork bushings. It's easy to get to. They're held in with like a little circlip. Change your fork bushings the same time you're going to change your fork seals. That way everything's going to be together. We won't get the chatter back and forth that comes with the wear and tear. And part of that sludge that you find is the wear and tear off of these fork bushings. So let's get you new fork bushings in there, put the new seals on top, add the correct fork oil. Now, with the fork oil, what we always recommend is stick with the factory recommended weight and capacity. That's big. We've seen people say, oh, I've got 10 weights, usually always recommended. We've seen people say, I'm going to use 20 weight. It's going to give me a little better damping, going to give me a little better resistance. It is going to do that. It is going to be tougher to push 20 weight fork oil through all the little internal passages and orifices inside your fork, but it also is going to generate a lot more heat. And when it generates more heat, the air in the top of the chamber of the fork expands. That's what's going to push your fork seal out. That's what's going to create the next fork seal leak, is adding the wrong weight fork oil. If you're very active and you're riding off-road, it gets a little spirited, that heat will generate and cause you some fork seal failure. Stick with the stock recommended weight and capacity. We've also seen guys say add a little bit more. Again, we add more. We've got less air volume at the top, so when it does get hot, that air compresses. Again, we're going to have the same issue of having fork seal failure. We don't want to do that, so we want to make sure that you use the factory recommended weight, the factory recommended amount, be it in ounces or measurement from the top. Either way, we want to go with factory recommended amounts. When you do the measurement from the top, as it always says, of course, we're going to put some fork oil in. As it says, let's take, for example, it says put 14 ounces of fork oil in. So we're going to pump some in. We're going to pump it up and down and make sure we get all the bubbles out of the bottom of the fork orifices, all the little passages in there. Want to give it a little light pumping up and down a couple times, get those bubbles out. Then with the fork tube collapsed in the slider, we can measure from the top, be it 115 millimeters, 140 millimeters, whatever the factory recommends for the fork level capacity. That's what you want to go to after you've worked out all the bubbles. And also, never ever use motor oil for fork. Motor oil, as we've discussed before, has a little adhesive quality to it. It's made for motor oils, made to hold clutches together. That's too abrasive for a fork tube. It's going to cause wear and tear and just really loosen up all the seals inside. Going to make those bushings you just put in go south. Don't use motor oil. Use a quality, known brand fork oil in the correct weight and correct volume. Hey, thank you for watching, and don't forget to give us a like and thumbs up on Instagram, Facebook, and remember, your adventure begins here.